I like the defensive effort we gave, especially in the second half. The third quarter, our defense was probably the best it's been all season long. And, they were shooting 50% at halftime, and they ended up shooting 39 for the game. So second half defense was pretty damn good. Yeah, I mean, we did a much better job on them in the second half. They're both a load, down there. They're both so big and physical. Drummond's a great rebounder, and Greg's pretty damn good on that post. So we did a much better job against them in the second half than we did, obviously, in the first half. Well, that's how we got to play. I think we had 7 guys in double digits, so that's when we give ourselves an opportunity to win.
Byron, would you say the vibe around the team is changing with Kobe being here, getting the win, Julius Randle being here to practice? Do you think things are slowly changing for the better?
I don't know about the vibe. I think all our guys have been pretty upbeat, all season long, even though it's been a very tough, season for us. But our guys come in every day in practice, and they're excited to get to work and looking forward to the next game. And I'm glad they have that type of feeling. After as tough as it has been for us, but they come to work the next day looking to get going. And it's always great when you have Kobe around, and guys like Julius, who's been injured, now he's coming around because he's able to get on the floor and do some things. So we're all excited about that. Same thing, just being encouraging. He takes guys to the side and talks to them and encourages them and shows them things on the floor that he sees. And that helps those guys as well, because I think a lot of guys are very visual anyway. So again, like I said, it's just a blessing to have him on the bench talking to our young guys, giving them encouragement.
Kobe had joked before the game when he was talking to the media that it was also a way to provide you with a sense of comfort on the court. Comfort that you're feeling.
I just love him being there. Every now and then I look down and I see him sitting there. He's just kind of watching everything that's going on. He's watching the huddles and he's talking to guys. So I just like to see him. I just like to see him sitting there.
Have you evolved, in terms of how you handle team strategy?
I think we all, evolve when you've been in it this long on both ends of the floor. As great as a lot of these coaches are, there's nobody that's, reinventing the wheel. It's still a very simple game. We make it a little bit more complex than it probably is. But, I've learned a lot in 1,000 games. The experience has been great. I still think I have a lot to learn. And I feel I have a lot to accomplish.
Is the game that different from game 1?
No, it's not that different. Players are different, but the game is not that different.
Yeah, how do you mean players are different?
Players are different.
Just like their mentalities, personalities?
They're everything. Players are much more athletic now than we were, but they also much different to deal with than we were as well. I'll leave it at that.
Every generation says that. I think the younger guys did. Is it really true that you guys weren't like that, when you're coming through, or you just feel that?
Ask John Black. He's been around long enough.
Byron speaks the truth.
But Byron, when you're saying you feel like you still have a lot to learn, a lot to accomplish, what's come on that bucket list?
Well, obviously, the main thing on that bucket list is to win a championship as a coach. And no better place in the world for me to do that than here. When I say a lot to learn, I always feel as a coach, if you get to the point where you think you know everything about this game, it's time to retire. So I still feel I have a lot to learn.